very. She tells the story of her own grandfather and her father, and how they battled a lot of restraints, a lot of social restraints, a lot of political issues, personal volition, and therefore how they didn't achieve their own potential revolved around the condemnation by the teacher, our teacher in high school, that she was not Princeton material and that she should just settle for some second best, which she didn't, and ended to study law in Princeton, and went on to become the mentor to the first black president of America, Barack Obama. Another very instructive point about the book, The Becoming, that I find about the book is the notion, even as she was growing up, as she had grown up and become an adult, was there also the stereotypes that were still infested on her. She tells the story of her meeting with Barack Obama in the law firm in Chicago, and how there was some kind of expectation, almost presumed, that they were a perfect match, that it's basically a black and black thing, and that's basically what it was. So almost think to the point that that was her lot, and therefore she wouldn't have anything else beyond find another black man, and they were a perfect pair. And this is the kind of stereotyping that even very powerful people, very brilliant people, have had to endure in their journey of self-affirmation. I think one of the other significant parts of the Michelle Obama's book, story. I think sometimes we see the glitz and you see the finished product. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, powerful couple, but sometimes we don't see the beginnings. We don't see how they started and how they struggled to deal with different kind of issues. In particular, I think it was part of that was going to see where Michelle Obama grew up from. Yeah, that is the Dagwanana's picture disappeared off the screen there. Hope we can get it back. We'll see. But we will get to that point when we can find some correlation between Michelle Obama's story and the story of So let us look at an important and I'm going to go to page 281, where she talks about becoming more. So let's look at page 281, becoming more. Let's have a look. Where's that? Now, 281. So it says becoming more, and it says it's chapter 19, and I read, there is no handbook for incoming first ladies of the United States. It's not technically a job, nor is it an official government title. It comes with no salary and no spelled out set of obligations. It's a strange kind of sidecar to the presidency. It sits that by the time I came to it, had already been occupied by more than 43 different women, each of whom had done it their own way. I knew only a little about previous first ladies and how they'd approached the position. And he talks about Rosalind Carter, Jackie Kennedy, Hillary Clinton, and therefore the challenge to make it her own. So She says here, I'd been inside the White House just once before, a couple of years earlier. Through Barack's office at the Senate, I'd signed myself and Malia and Sasha up for a special tour being offered during one of our visits to Washington, figuring it would be a fun thing to do. White House tours are generally self-guided, but this one involved being taken around by a White House curator. The story of Michelle Obama is powerful enough, enigmatic enough, yeah, to understand. But now, let's go to Jaguar Nana. I must confess that doing this and some things going on, and so when I was patient and I was very sincere with myself, I did not skip the pages to see what was happening next. So that being the case, the story of Jaguar Nana is a story set in early independence Nigeria in 1961, around that time when it was published. So, and it says Jaguar, Mr. Freddie was would accommodate that kind of arrangement one way or the other, but he went on as far as he could. One of the important parts of that story was that she that he would travel. He had, by the way, Freddie Name had no other lover, so he was in the throes of relatively young love and was besotted by this amazing, beautiful, stunningly beautiful guy, such an evocative name, and the description that was given of that Cyprian Equency in that book. I think any man with blood in his veins will want to go and meet her. So I'm not surprised that Freddie Name was totally besotted with Jaguar. And she was in that. She was in love with Freddie Name. You could call it love, or taking advantage of a young man, or what it was. You can make up your mind. But from the reading of the story, she took Freddie as his kind of innocent love. And in his journey to go abroad, to go and study, she invested some money. She paid for his bar exams. She paid for his accommodation in London. And how it evolved and how it went on, it got into a point where things became very messy, a lot of jealousy, as you'll find, an entanglement with the third parties, and of course, in the seedy setting of what you call the underworld of Lagos. You'll find a lot of shady cases meeting other people, and people getting entangled one way or another. So what is then the ultimately is that people make choices, and the choices come back to haunt them, confirm what they believe. But the important thing is to recognize that there is some kind of connection that I find between Becoming and Jaguar Nana. First of all, this is the life of two women, very strong characters, people who have an idea, very clear idea what they want in life, the determination that they have to achieve what they want to achieve. Also, the compromises they make in life about different kind of things that they're trying to do. But more importantly, I think it's a direct correlation of politics, because at the point in Jaguar's evolution through the story, she becomes entangled in politics, and it was the politics that opened up a can of worms, cans of worms, through her involvement in political character causes a disruption to people's lives, in a sense that ultimately you are not able to find total peace at a point in the story. It's just almost as of, in a way you'll think that the tribulations that the Obama family had to go through the primaries in the caucuses in the USA, the accusations, the innuendos, and the character framing that was done in that time was almost on a scale that you could say, you know, was this, if this was in Nigeria, it was somewhere in West Africa or in East Africa, or in particular South Africa, what kind of undercurrents are going on? Now, I had the today. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm still a bit of a novice in these live presentations, but I would actually like to hear what people think. Has anyone read Becoming? Have you read it? If you've read it, leave some comments, or you can call me. You can call me on my maybe I should just put a phone number. You can call me. We can have a chat, and on to exchanging these ideas. But you can see the book club event is thank you, bless you, that I can type in this number so we can have a chat about this. Otherwise, I think it might be the case that let me see. I think that's what it is. Okay, let's have a look. If you know about these books, call me, and on have a look. Who is that? Let's have a look. Okay. So I've got that. See what happens. So that is about that my thinking around the two books that we're really talking about today, which is the Jaguar Nana and Becoming by what's her name again? Michelle Obama. So let's look at something in the meantime, if we can get some kind of interaction. Let's see how that goes. So let me look at something that I wanted to share with you also in the meantime. Last time I mentioned we're talking about I mentioned about the Canterbury Tales. I have a little project I'm doing, which I'm kind of giving a working title of the Nigerian Tales, and it's about some Nigerians in Ghana somewhere. But that's a project for another day, and hopefully it'll come to life and we can all enjoy it. In the meantime, let me talk about Jaguar Nana. So Jaguar, in the end, is a very beautiful story. In the end, it's a very beautiful story. And in the end, it's a beautiful story. And what I draw from Jaguar Nana is the gift that we have of self-renewal, of conquering our fears, of rising above our situation, and it is that kind of correlation. You need that determination that people need in life to surmount your challenges and get on with stuff. So now, because we always need to have something extra, so I will find this there is a poem I want to read to you, but I need to also let you have the music that goes with it. So it is a bit of evocative of what goes on in the minds of African people. It's a song by it's inspired by a song written by let me see which one I'm going to do. Let's leave that for now. I'll find this one by the late Akpala musician Aruno Ishola, and it's a very beautiful song. And in the Yoruba language, this is described as Ninu Ese Meji Ti Ile Ifiduro, which I have kind of interpreted to be of the two legs supporting the earth. While I'm trying to get my head round that, let me just try and find the song for that. Good thing we have so much stuff online nowadays. You can get stuff. So let's have a look at it. I think I've got it. Let me see. Is it? So we can have that in the background and listen to this. I think one of the reasons why I have always enjoyed literature is because of the authenticity, the originality of thought. I mean, yesterday I came across a podcast, and the podcast was trying to the author was saying that this is the history of human thought. It's all thoughts from Greece and Rome and stuff, places like that. The human thought is not restricted, limited to what the Europeans or the people have done. We also have thought, African original thinking, and a lot of that is captured in what the elders have written, what people have left behind. And I find a lot of that is captured. Right, we had a bit of technical issue, network problems. Hopefully we will be able to surmount out and move on with this. So I was going to read this poem. It's based on the music playing in the background, and in terms of trying to situate the fact that human thought is not restricted to European thought or Asian thought. And I find a lot of authenticity and genuineness in the music and the thoughts and writing of many of our African thinkers. We find it in music. So, Nino Ese Mejiti Ila Ifiduro, of the two legs supporting the earth. Out of the two legs supporting the earth, one has been folded up and one remains. And that one is infirm from a limp, whereby I implore you to consider this. Descendants of Adam, live and let live. Do not wreck the world with hedonism. God made the world for all mankind. This place is not the preserve of some, Therefore, may we walk by God's own law. Life is fragile in these days, I say. The fire must not expire, nor the water escape and spill out. Is the confusion of a stupid man fanning a fire with a mouthful of water. A basket will not command obedience from water dancing deep inside a well. That is why we are renowned, regularly called the Grandmaster of Melody. Where is the limit of God's vision? Can someone say he has found it? God sees everywhere. He is king and overseer. Inside out, he is majesty, provider. I receive your blessings with grateful hands, the blessings of a partaker in good things, not the crumbs scattered for bystanders. And when these writers, these singers, when they perform the music, the mixture of idioms, they put the modern stuff, the old stuff, to make the message punchier. So, for example, Shola, he's now typically going after his enemies and his rivals. And he says that a cripple may hobble alongside the horseman and claim equality with him. Don't argue. Leave him alone to deceive himself. Different strokes for different folks. We know those snaring behind our back. It is you who will suffer from aggravation. A logger must bear the consequence if leaves rain on him in consequence. I can run, I can jump, baguettes, body aches, and wailing regret. Remember, as small as a tree stump sits, it cannot be removed with a single kick. Beads of salvation I have crossed. Kowo, collapse and die swiftly is the daily brood of the enemy. But here we are, day after day, still solid, and they multiply in worries. So that is that extract from the book of poems, the Jewels of the Yoruba Song. As we going on this journey and trying to find the appropriate way to engage around these studies, we also need to be mindful that we are trying to make the best of our time. I think one of the ways in which we can make the best of our time in isolation and lockdown is to just be a bit more introspective and enjoy the little things around us. Mr. Adeniji, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Jumoke, and my eyes are blinking a little bit, but thank you very much. I think we are kind of on this journey, and as I continue to fine-tune the presentation, I will be continue to like that engagement where we can have actually interaction. I did set up some kind of technical stuff to use today, but one of them has failed me, and I haven't been able to get that two-way communication as perfectly as I wanted it to be. But we are just early days yet. It's our 4th episode. We're keeping it going. So put some ideas together, offering your support and encouragement, and we can keep on doing what we're doing. If you've written a book that you want us to talk about, let me know, and we can talk about it. You can bring your perspectives forward. If you have a book that you want others to know about, please share it. Name a title. I think there are as many books as there are human minds and human perspectives, and no book is too small to talk about. Now, one thing that I've been thinking about books in particular is you have to remember old books. I have a book here which I've discovered in a bookshop some years ago in in London, and it is, you can see, it's titled The Kudeti Book of Yoruba Cookery. I think I bought this book sometime in 1999. It used to be a very popular Afrocentric bookshop on Atlantic Road in Brixton. And it's called Index Books. It's closed down now. This was published by CSS Bookshops. Let me see what year it was published. It was published in 1934. CMS Bookshop, second edition in 1965, and third one in 1979. And this is a reprint from 1987. Now, what I found about this cookery book was compiled by two white women in 1934, by J.A. Mars and E.M. Tulio. And the revision was done in 1965 with the help of one Miss O. Alalade of the Akure Training Center. And the preface also mentions thanks to Miss F. Oshigbosi, kitchen supervisor, and Mrs. F. Adeyinka, higher dietitian caterer, both of the Nurses Hostel, Hauloa Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, who have correctly modified or whistled down some of the old-fashioned recipes. And it was in 1979. And what I find fascinating about this is that it has a whole lot of recipes, which I think I'm going to get people in my house to try out. But the odd thing is that even though they call it the Book of Yoruba Cookery, I've come across so many different kinds of things. And I'm thinking, are these Yoruba foods? Banana fritters, salmon cakes, brown sauce, so salmon mold, sardines on toast. So this is supposed to be part of Yoruba cookery in 1934. But what you then find really good about this book is that it has a part that says invalid dishes. This is supposed to be stuff for people who are unwell. And so it has beef tea, chicken broth, egg flip to make hot echo more nourishing, arrowroot gruel, custard, bread and milk. So all these things are the ones that are supposed to be for people who are unwell. But beyond that, you have the typical, the very popular ones. We have ipekere, dodo, you have puff puff. We have something called gurudi. I don't know what's that. Mosa. If you know any of these things, I know we can share. We have soups, stews, and sauce. Fried atta sauce, meat stew, okra soup, gure soup, alakpa soup, eyo soup, akpon soup, efo, bean soup, or begiri. So all these things are listed in these books. And he also has a whole section on yams. It talks about boiled yams, iyan, dundu, ebe, ikokore, ojojo, akara, yam balls, oka. So these kind of books takes you back to a far place. It takes you somewhere in the past. And I think as with books, whether they are fiction or they are non-fiction books, it is that opportunity you have to journey into a different space, different place. And I think one of the instructive things that we get from books is that people have lived before us. As the Yoruba we say, when you think there's something new under the sun, when you think of the achievements of the Greeks and the Romans and the Assyrians and the things they've done, even they did, we realize we are also part of history. And there's nothing that we're doing that is extraordinary in some way, because people before us have done the same thing. And it is through books, the writing, that we get access to that. Because through that access, to the information, we are able to learn and to reconfigure our own contemporary lives for the better. As they say, you know, as a historian myself, they say, you know, those who fail to learn from what's he saying now? Help me out. If you don't learn from the past, you will repeat history, something like that. So that's the beauty about books. And one of the ways, you know, even this simple book of cookery helped me to recognize that in 1934, there are people who were actually having a good time, who were concerned enough about cuisine to write about it in 1934. But then, of course, the issue about authenticity or genuineness, but who knows what actually is your Yoruba cookery, apart from the traditional stuff that we're watching, what actually is authentic. We all borrow from different kind of cultures. That is you know, so different from other people depending on style and approach. So do you have any old books? Do you have any old books that you want to talk about? If you have grandparents or great grandparents, their wardrobe and get something out, and let's share what we've got from the past. The other thing that I wanted to talk about before we round up today was that I have a book here which might interest many African. You are very interested in public affairs, and it's a very chunky book. And for those who are familiar, I think this guy is unmistakable. And this is a kind of biographical work by the current governor of Kaduna State in Nigeria, Nasir Ahmad El-Rufai. And he wrote this book, I think, about 6-7 years ago. Yeah, I got a signed copy from him on March 6, 2013. Well, that's 7 years ago. And so what I like about this book, and it's, you know, is that it's a lot of work. It's really good. There are a lot of pictures there. Not, you know, there are some pictures there, but the pictures don't make up more than the written stuff. And whatever we may make of Nasir El-Rufai, from this book, he shows very clearly that he's not a lazy thinker. It's a very, you know, thoroughly written book, thoughtfully done, and covers a whole range of public life and personal positions at the heart of government when he was a minister and the FCT, Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, the things he did, there are personal nuances. Of course, you know, there's, you know, self-congratulation, you know, self-affirmation there is, you know, patting some of the back, but who wouldn't do that? But I think by and large, it's an authentic book. And I think if anybody wants to get into the mind of Nasir El-Rufai, because who knows, it's possible that being governor of Kaduna State isn't his last political office. So it'll be worthwhile to be able to get into his mind and see what drives him, what really motivates him. But when I read the book, I got to a point where I disagreed with him on the issue, and I raised the issue, you know, elsewhere. And it was something that I agree in terms of urbanization. El-Rufai was a surveyor and urban planner. That's his profession. And he said there that in this part of the book that by 2050, he said 60% of Nigerians are going to be living in cities, and that is the way to go. We need to start doing this and that. And I agree with that as a fact, it's a projection. But I personally don't believe that we should encourage everybody to live in cities, because place for people to live in rural areas and to bring amenities to rural areas. So on that point, I have an ideological kind of difference with him, who live in rural areas, who are going to be productive in rural areas, rather than assuming that because of rural urbanization, we have to just subject ourselves and agree that that's the only way. So I think it's one of the books I'll recommend for you to get to know more about Nasir El-Rufai. I can imagine that in a couple of years, in a few years' time, he will write another volume after his time as governor terminated, or maybe he's moved on to something more substantial than that. Time will tell. On that note, since I have not been able to fashion out fully my interaction as I was expecting to do, but we'll be working on sorting all that out in due course. Therefore, I think what we should do is to take a deep breath and refocus our minds while we are in lockdown, or we've been released out of lockdown, to imagine our own experiences during that period. Have you written a book about your lockdown experience? Have you kept a journal of your experiences during lockdown? Have you had any observations about lockdown? Because, surprise, surprise, sometime soon we will be talking about books for people who have been in lockdown. There are already a few journals going out, a few books been already out. I'm writing a book on transportation. I have to hold it back so I can put a chapter in on COVID-19. So let us enjoy the rest of the evening, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.